Knowing and understanding gender norms are extremely important if you want to be a good person and be able to actually socially interact with people without being bigoted. So today we're going to talk about gender norms, what they are and the importance of them, and if it's something we should actually follow strictly. But first, let's roll the intro. This is where Marshall talks a lot, but it's on YouTube. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the YouTube channel. If you know me already from my YouTube shorts or my TikToks, welcome. It's the Marshall Show, but extra, some extra long form content for you guys. If you don't know me, I'm just a black cis male talking about social issues that I think is important. So let's talk about gender norms, the first YouTube video in a long daily series I'll be talking about. So the reason I wanted to talk about gender norms specifically is because I see a lot of rhetoric around the internet talking about maybe men in dresses, maybe talking about women with like shorter hair, maybe talking about Jared McCain, if you know who that is, the rookie or sophomore from the Sixers. He paints his nails, and people have a lot to say about that. Even people like Harry Styles when he wore a dress, Kid Cudi when he wore a dress. Things like that nature are all gender norms. And I see a lot of people talk about, hey, if you're a man painting your nails, you're feminine, you're gay, you're doing something that makes you lesser than as a man. Now, the reason I point those norms out first are because those are the ones you can really disprove immediately. And when I say disprove when it comes to gender norms, I'm talking about having the concept that if you don't follow these norms, these societal rules that were made up, that it wouldn't be such a big deal. But there's way more deeper gender norms that are more complicated to explain and to break out of. And let me further specify in saying these are going to be two examples of people breaking gender norms rather than what the gender norms are itself. So for the two examples of simple ways that men break gender norms, I want to talk about Jared McCain and painting his nails and like celebrities who wear dresses. So let's talk about Jared McCain first. So if you guys don't know, Jared McCain is a sophomore now for the 76ers NBA team. And he was going to win Rookie of the Year last year, but he got injured. But nonetheless, he's somebody who very publicly paints his nails a lot. And he's, to my knowledge, publicly is a heterosexual male. Now, I bring up his sexual orientation because it's important to imply that he is not anywhere near feminine because he paints his nails. Because painting your nails does not define you as a human, as a gender, or as your sexual orientation in general. I like Flight Reacts, but even people that have a large fan base like him, when they see Jerry McCain paint his nails, they sort of have a disprove type of look or reaction. And it's because men usually do not paint their nails. Although, interestingly enough, if you had to try to explain why they don't do that or shouldn't do that, you can't really get a tangible, logical answer. All you can really say is that this is something that women do. That's really all you can say. And I guess in theory, that's not like a horrible reason, but if that's the only reason, then it doesn't really make sense to criticize somebody for doing it or associating them as feminine in any way. Because we paint our bodies with tattoos, and I feel like if we painted anywhere else on our bodies, you wouldn't really see that as a feminine or masculine thing. But when it comes to nails, it's seen as feminine, again, because mostly women do it. But is there anything that's naturally feminine about putting nail polish or paint on your nails? Not really. There's really nothing about it in particular that's feminine in its existence. Same thing with wearing dresses. I think people would try to imply that maybe it's the flowy nature of a dress that makes it feminine, but there's a lot of clothes that men wear regularly that is flowy in nature. People wear super baggy pants, super baggy jackets, coats, shirts, whatever you want to say. So the flowiness of the actual dress doesn't really matter. And you can wear a patterned shirt, a patterned jacket, a patterned pants that's the same exact pattern as any other dress, and it wouldn't be seen as feminine either. And the fact that it's flowing on the bottom isn't really a big thing either, because there's long coats that are seen as masculine. There's long pieces of clothing that can be also seen as masculine. So what is feminine about a dress? And the answer really is because women wear it. And you can make an argument that maybe it's made for women, but at the end of the day, if it fits a man, if it's fine for a man, if it was even made for a man, if it's a unisex dress, then in that same exact logic, it shouldn't be seen as feminine for wearing it. But regardless of what I just said, people still consider you feminine if you wear that or if you paint your nails as a man, and it doesn't make any sense. But the reason people actually criticize you for doing it is because of gender norms. people are actually used to a certain gender doing these things. The tides kind of shift for women when it comes to short hair, but that was a gender norm as well. Women with short hair was seen instantly as masculine, and when you think about it, there's no reason at all for that to be the case other than the fact that traditionally women have longer hair and men have shorter hair. I'm not saying that women don't naturally have longer hair or anything like that, but actually wearing it, the size that you like to keep it, the length you like to keep it, shouldn't really be a factor in if it's masculine or feminine in the first place. And again, luckily, we've kind of broken away from that kind of concept. But in the past, if you go a decade ago, maybe even 5, 7 years ago, if you saw a man with long hair, you would consider that feminine. If you've seen a girl with short hair, you would consider it masculine. And it doesn't make sense, and we've moved past it. But there was a time where that gender norm was very, very strict. So, okay, hopefully that makes sense to you guys, right? These things are literally just criticized because we assign it to a certain gender's actions, right? But at the end of the day, if someone wants to break that connection we have in our own minds, then it shouldn't be a bad thing. So we agree with that. Painting your nails should not be problematic. People should just mind their business. But let's talk about the more in-depth and more nuanced, complicated gender norms that also should not be strictly followed if somebody wants to break them. Let's talk about societal responsibilities of each gender. Now, you probably were raised or taught that if you're a man, you're supposed to provide for your family. If you're a woman, you have to nurture your family, being the one who cooks, cleans, raise the kids, etc. If you're a man, you're going to do all the hard work and you're going to make the money for the family, etc. Now, I want to make it very clear that even though I'm saying that breaking these gender norms are okay, and that gender norms don't have to be anywhere near strictly enforced because they're made up, does not mean that if you do follow these norms that you're a bad person at all. But criticizing people for not following it is an issue. So when I say that men are the ones who work hard and do these things and women are the one who nurtures a family sometimes, if you are in that type of relationship or family or societal norm, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. That's great for you to do that. It doesn't matter to me at all. Although, if you were to criticize a man for not doing that, or for a woman for not doing that, that's the issue. Because other than the reason that traditionally a woman would birth the child, there's really no reason to keep these strict gender norms when talking about how a family is configured. Because if a man wants to be the one who stays at home, if a man wants to be the one that takes care of the kids, if a man likes to cook, if a man likes to clean, if that's what he wants to provide for the family and the woman goes out and works and they agree on it and they have no problems with it, that's not something we should criticize as a society. And I see a lot of people actually do that on both sides, men and women, who would criticize each gender if they don't follow those strict gender norms. I've seen videos where a woman will be super critical of another woman if they're the one who is the breadwinner. And I don't think that's correct or should be a thing at all. Same way that I don't think a man should criticize another man or criticize another woman for not being able to provide for their family or in the way that you would think a woman would, which is, I guess, cooking and cleaning, being in the kitchen, all these things that should have been left in the 60s. And let's talk about what the patriarchy has done to gender norms in general, because that's usually the reason why we construct these gender norms in the first place. The system where men are the ones who's supposed to reign power in our society. That being said, makes you imply or makes you think that a man should be the one that takes care of all the bills and do the hard labor. And another thing that the patriarchy was able to create as a gender norm was the thought that men shouldn't be emotional or vulnerable at all. I made a video about this on my last TikTok or my YouTube short if you guys want to check it out. But the fact that men can't be vulnerable or emotional at all, which without being seen as weak, is a gender norm in itself. We think that men should be the people who are able to just keep all the pain to themselves and just bear all the emotional trauma, because if you talk about it, you're weak. And it's a sad thing because you can see that this type of gender norm is actually hurtful, and there is reasons why the men's suicide rate has spiked in the last few decades. At the end of the day, like I said throughout this entire video, I don't think there's anything wrong with following gender norms. If you align with gender norms, then that makes sense. There's a reason why it's called a gender norm in the first place. You're doing what's normally accepted in society. But the fact that people get criticized and abused and bullied and basically harassed for not following those norms shouldn't be a thing that we allow in society, especially if those things that they do that goes against gender norms isn't hurtful to anybody at all. It's not necessary. If you're a man and you want to wear a dress and paint your nails and have long hair, do it. And no one can tell you that you're a woman because you do those things. All this is made up. All this is a societal construct. And I'm not even trying to be that woke, okay? I'm just a cis black guy. All right. But thank you guys for watching my first YouTube video. If you watched all the way through, you have to comment Apple. And if you do, you'll be in my next video. I promise you, I'll shout you out on my next video because this is a long video. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. And as a family, let's roll the out.